Hi y'all, welcome back to Pretty Culture 101. I'm Tanya. Welcome to Nizam's channel. So this week I want to talk to y'all about body goals. I'm sure you've seen somewhere, whether you're scrolling through Gram or wherever else, someone say hashtag body goals, which essentially is concept of like all of our dreams of like what the perfect body would look like. And sometimes we see people like that is the perfect body, and usually when you see hashtag body goals, it's lined up with somebody who has a small waist, hips, a bum, thick thighs, and usually some boobs in the chest. So that is one version of hashtag body goals. There's another version of hashtag body goals that's also usually just a woman who's quite thin and doesn't have very much body fat whatsoever, whether that be thighs, boobs, ass, whatever. And both of these things are put up as like contrast against each other, as like which one is the perfect body. The thing about bodies is, depending on what century we're in, there has been a different goal of like what the perfect body is. Have you ever heard of Sarah Baartman? Comment below if you have. I would like to hear what you've heard and when you heard about her for the first time. And while you're commenting, take this time as a moment to subscribe. And if you haven't heard of her before, in a nutshell, she is an African woman who was stolen by the British and put on display in museums. I think they recently actually took down her body from being on display. When she was alive, they had her on display, and after she passed away, they still kept her on display. That's like the epitome of how gross this whole, like, that's why I feel like sometimes when I see hashtag body goals, I feel like the whole concept of body goals is so gross because of the history of like where it came from. And if you look at her body is like the body that was seen as one to strive for, which is really sick and twisted when you think about the ways in which that she was treated. The fact that folks were buying corsets at the time, particularly European women were using corsets as a way to make their waists smaller to achieve this body type. While she wasn't respected or cared for in any way, people were still trying to strive to look like her body. And there's different ideas when you think about body goals. Like, there's different reasons why different cultures have certain body goals. Sometimes it's because of the storylines that people think about what it means to have a bigger ass or bigger hips. I've heard people call them childbearing hips, or what it means to have chest. It just, all these different things within our cultures tend to be seen as meaning something different. But I feel like it's important that when we're talking about this idea of body goals, that we're able to really acknowledge where the history of some of it comes from and be so mindful of how much we internalize that to be something that we strive for. I feel like when we're talking about different ways that we want to heal from this, I feel like that's where the body positivity movement comes into play. Having a movement that says all bodies are beautiful bodies is really beautiful, because I feel like it gives more space to a larger narrative that isn't so inherently violent and oppressive. Because when you think about where this whole concept of like the perfect body came from, it's always been laced with misogyny and patriarchy and racism. And it's something that is, because it's, so many centuries have passed, we don't always recognize like what the history of that is. So I feel like that's why I'm always a little weary when I see things like waist trainers and so on and so forth, is because I feel like we forget the history and like why some of us are craving this want for different bodies and wanting to look like a different body depending on what's in trend. An example of that, I think, when I look at Little Kim from back in the day versus Little Kim now, I feel like she's a great example of like some of the pressures that come from like the institution of beauty and the ways that particularly women feel like they need to live up to this ideal. And we've seen times where little kitten's body would fit a smaller frame back when that was a thing. I would say in the 90s, it was a thing to be smaller, whereas now we're looking at seeing women who are thicker being celebrated more. And I feel like there's space for all of us, which is great about body positivity, is to say there's space for all of us to fit in and for all of us to be seen as beautiful. But when you see the ways in which even her body has shifted it over time, because, you know, she has been a sex symbol and an icon for decades now, it makes sense that she would look different in different decades based on what is the thing that's in. But I feel like that's part of what is so violent about it, is that it pushes people to feel like they have to fit in, that they have to change their bodies in order to be what is considered beautiful in that time period, whatever that may look like. And if we're thinking about how we want to heal ourselves, I feel like there's space in this conversation for folks of all genders and all races to really embrace this concept of body positivity, because it talks about, regardless of what our body size is, whether that is our body, we have fat bodies, skinny bodies, tall bodies, short bodies, whether you have big breasts or big ass or hips and thighs or don't have those things, your body is beautiful. Bodies that are able-bodied, bodies that are not able-bodied, your body is beautiful. I feel like I would love to see that be more of a thing, and I think that our healing comes from really just erasing this idea of like, this is a body goal, because inherently, like, it really is, when you think about it, a violent act to try to force our bodies to fit into these constructs, these very limited constructs of like what the perfect body is, because really and truly only 1% of the population has that body type that we aim for as a perfect body. It just doesn't exist. When I think about my own healing and what I do in my daily life, which is work, honestly it is, because I'm not above any of this. It impacts me the same as it impacts other folks. When I'm scrolling through, I'm still seeing things where I'm like, oh, it'd be nice if, you know, and what I have found to be really helpful for me is to take time to really look at my body, to really spend time with my body, to look at my body in the mirror. And when I want to say something negative, instead of saying something negative, I find something positive to say. I try to really combat all the things that I've internalized about my own body and find positive words, affirming words, kind words to say to myself, to really encourage myself to love my body as it is. And that doesn't mean that I don't strive to have a healthier body or to have a stronger body. This is not saying that you're not supposed to want to do nice things for your body, eat well for your body, drink water for your body, exercise for your body. It's just saying that it's okay to love our bodies for where we are right now and not feel like we need to strive for this unrealistic idea of perfection that none of us can ever attain. Because even if you eat well and exercise and do all these things, you may never have that perfect, whatever you perceive the perfect body to be. And I just feel like I would love to see hashtag body goals not be a thing anymore. Probably will never not be a thing. But I still have to strive for that for myself, because I see there's times where I have those same feelings where I'm like, I want that body, I want that frame, whatever that is. And I'm working on in my own life, in my own healing, to be able to love my body in its many stages and phases, right where it is and wherever it will be in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and be able to see the beauty and perfection in being exactly as I am right now, today. So please comment below, what are some things that you do for your own body, for your own healing? Have you felt like hashtag body goals when you're scrolling through Instagram, anywhere on social media? Is that something that happens for you? And what are the things that spark that feeling for you? Comment below, how do you deal with this whole hashtag body goals thing? What are you doing for yourself? Take care of yourself. Peace, stay beautiful. Talk to you next week.